Good morning and welcome. It is now the 20th of February, and I want to give a warm welcome to all of you. This is a live podcast, Fight CPS, with your host, Bob Pace, and hang on to your children. Hang on to your children. Now, it's a warm welcome. This is a live stream that talks about how to fight CPS and hang on to your children or get your children back. It's a full hour and it's interactive. We can do several things. There's about 4 different things here on this podcast. And I'm so glad that you found me. You found me on Facebook fighting a CPS, Bob Pace Fighting CPS. Now, I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, and again at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on the weekends, I come on a couple hours early at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. There may be other times that I do my show, and I'll let you know if it's different times out there. But I encourage you all to participate and let me help you with your CPS matter. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father and a husband. I've helped raise 6 children. I, too, unfortunately, ran into a bad CPS group. I call them the Child Protection System. Now, a lot of places will have different names, and so it's easy for me just to say CPS. And unfortunately, yeah, I had the same issue you had. They wrongfully took my children that weren't in danger, and they wrongfully charged me with something that did not happen. And they made my life terrible. It started in 2010, and for 5 years they were harassing me. And then in 2015, they stole my 3 children. And it was a nightmare for 3 years, and I could talk about it further. But right now, it's important that you get to talk about your case. This is why I'm here, is to help you. I care enough about you. And I have talked to over 900 people so far. And not only in the United States, but in 21 countries too. From Indonesia to Bangladesh to India to Saudi Arabia to Libya to Africa to Liberia to Sudan to Rwanda to Mozambique and to several of the provinces in South Africa. Then up to Europe, England, Scotland, and Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. And then across the pond to North America, I've had Canada, 4 provinces there. And of course, the 50 states, the U.S., and the District of Columbia. Now, south of the border, I have Mexico, and in South America, I have Grenada, then across the Pacific to New Zealand, and then to the land down under, Australia, and I've had 2 states there. So it's quite a variety of people with their CPS cases, the Child Protection Systems. And every state and every county is mandated by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse. And it is true. There are a lot of bad parents out there, but there's also a lot of rogue bad CPS entities out there too. So it's kind of a hard thing to navigate and weed through the muck. And I hopefully can share 5 rules that I come up with that would have helped me in my case, never having my children taken. It's a horrible, horrible experience to feel that. Now, I have about 25 to 50 regular people that come and go in my room here, and I love to see them all the time. They have great stories. Some of them come back and said that what I've said has helped them. My encouragement and my caring for them, that's what I want to do. I want to help you. That's why I'm on here, is to help you. It's a lot of repetitions at time if you heard me, but I try to make them different depending on the people that come and go and things like that. I do have topics I talk about. Um, things like what is ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978, or how to file a 388 motion, or what is a 160 hearing, or what are the steps in fighting CPS. How do we get a lawyer? How do we do documents? How do we say no to social workers? How do we stop the medical trafficking? How do we research CPS on the internet? And then what important documents do we need to gather? Those are things that I will tell you and help you with. Also, you may come across things that you want to say or talk about. And you can. It's very easy. So you can text me a comment or a question about CPS. Comment about CPS or a question about CPS. Try to be positive in the comments. Let's not be harsh on one another. Let's be nice in here. Also, please state your first name, your city or your county the case was in, and the state. And if you're from another country, you're more than welcome. Just show me your country name in addition to what I've asked. Also, try to tell as much as you can on the first round about your case, about your family, how it got started, and things like that. That's really important there. And besides talking, you can also be a guest on my podcast. Being a guest on my podcast is easy. All you have to do is email my show producer. Her name is Grace, and she can be reached at Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. You send in your request for one of my 14 shows. I want to be Bob's Sunday morning show, or I want to be on Bob's Wednesday evening show. So you send that in, and she'll give you back a link that you'll go on. Now, I broadcast on YouTube, and I use the StreamYard application. So once you get the link, if you fall off, you can get to use the link again and get you back on. It's good for the entire show. She'll also inform you what you can say and not say. We don't use names. We don't eat on the podcast. We don't do a lot of those things are disruptive in there. And it's not a podcast, it's a live stream. For a long time, I've been calling it the wrong name. It's a live stream. And I want to say thank you for the emoji from Philistine from Canada. She is a First Nation person from Canada, which First Nations are what the Canadians call their Indians. And so she just sent me a face with it's kind of a squirrely looking face, but thank you, Philistine. And if any of you all want to send me emojis like hearts, thumbs up, stars, that would be great. And smiley faces are good too. Now, also please check below to follow me. I'd love to have followers, and then if you want to be notified when I'm on, check the notification. Now, besides being a guest on my podcast, you can also call in, and there's my number, 626-698-0990. So please call me. I'd love to have you on the live stream. You can talk about your case, or you can help out others that are coming to the room and so forth. Now, keep in mind, both being a guest on my podcast or calling in, you can get rewarded by having a private Zoom consultation with my attorney, Vincent W. Davis. He is one of those few people that has won cases against CPS. He is a fighter, he's a pit bull. He's been fighting CPS for 39 years. He is licensed and professionally trained in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Those are the three areas you got to have an attorney in. And on top of that, he was a foster child. So he knows what it is to be a foster child. He's also a trial attorney, and he's also won civil lawsuits against CPS. When your case is closed, he can fight both state or federal court about your case and get money, and he has gotten millions from CPS. He's rescued, thousands of children. So he is a pit bull of attorney. And the office number for him is 888-888-6582. If you're looking for an attorney right now, call in and discuss his retainer at 888-888-6582. Or if you come on my podcast as a guest or call in, you get 15 minutes with him. In that time, you can talk to him about that. See how the chemistry is. See how the chemistry is. Because the most important thing in fighting CPS is have a good attorney. You have to have an attorney that you have good chemistry with. You got to find an attorney that has that background fighting CPS. There are two important questions you need to ask a potential attorney you want to hire. And that is, are you a licensed professional attorney schooled in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law? And have you fought CPS and gotten children back? If the answer to that first question is yes, then the second question should be, after the case is closed, have you sued CPS and won money back from CPS in a civil lawsuit? If the answer is yes, then you know that attorney is good attorney and not to, um, that he'll be a fighter for you. And Vincent is one of that attorney. He can be one of there. You should shop around for three attorneys and you should interview three attorneys. You need to ask those two questions. And that's my rule number one is get yourself an attorney. And you're probably going to say, wait a minute, the court, they gave me an attorney. Yeah, what they did is they gave you an attorney that's only schooled in criminal law, that has a caseload of 30 more clients, and that he or she's not going to help you. They're not fighters. Their caseload is 30 or more clients, and they're controlled by CPS. That's not what you want. You want an attorney that's not controlled and not afraid of CPS. Attorney that you can get three references on and call up the references and see what kind of an attorney they are. That's what you need to do. Meet and talk to them and so forth. So rule number one, get an attorney, because fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. If you're going to have open heart surgery, you're certainly not going to use yourself to cut open your body cavity and take your heart out and work on it. You're going to have a professional do that. Same goes for CPS. If it's a corrupt CPS or a bad CPS, you need a hard fighting attorney. And Vincent is one of those. So I'll leave my number up there, and hopefully one of you will call in, which will be great. I love to talk to you. I love to have you put what you want in the show. Now, um, there are four more other rules that will help you. And documents are really important here. You need to document everything because they will lie. They're not transparent, and they they're able to manipulate you, and you don't want that. They're not fair, and I'm talking about the bad ones. There are good ones too. There are good ones too. So I'm not talking about the good ones. I'm talking about the ones that are bad. And it's hard to figure out what's bad, but you know right from wrong. You see, the CPS system was mandated by Congress in the United States. Um, they mandated that social services would set up a department that would watch our children, that protect our children from abuse and neglect. And the way they do it is they take in call ins from lay people or professionals. And when they call in, they believe the story is true. So you're guilty before you're proven. You have to be proven innocent. Every other law, you're not guilty until you're proven guilty. So these people call in, and they will sometimes the lay people, about 50% of them will use it for alternative motives, meaning they want revenge against a spouse. They want to alienate the children. They'll make up false stories. And that's the sad part. My case was really sad. I fought them for 5 years of false allegations that were made by a layperson who were my in laws, my wife's mother, father, three sisters, and a brother. Would call in once a week for 5 years and report some outlandish things that weren't true. They finally got frustrated after 5 years and had the police get involved. And I thought I had to open my home. I thought I had to show them. And like a fool, I believed in our government. I believed in the police. I believed in the social. It's the worst mistake you do. You never talk to CPS workers. You never talk to the police. You tell them that you need your attorney present, that you'll get your attorney present. That's so important to do that because it can be so bad, and the circumstances against you can be bad. Um, you got to be careful. And one thing is you got to document. When they start to interview you or start to talk to you, you need to rewrite everything down. You need to record everything. Now, never go to their office. Never let them in your home. Go to a public place like a Starbucks or a McDonald's and talk to them there. You don't have to. And again, you don't want to talk without your attorney. You don't want to talk to your attorney. Now, hello, Love. We have a YouTube person named Love and has a question. Can CPS interview a child in school without a teacher, staff as witness, or a child's juvenile attorney? Technically, you should always be two people with children. I don't care if you're in the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, or the Scouts. It's no longer called Boy Scouts. The Scouts or the Girl Scouts. You always should have two people present with children because children can make up things and put you in a serious situation. Now, they can interview if they suspect something. Now, typically, the school is supposed to inform their parents that your children be interviewed, that you can come to the school and sit in a separate room. So, in our case, that did happen. Our children were being interviewed. So, we were at school. We didn't know why. They interviewed the children. They found out nothing from the children, and they let the children come back to us, and it was over. But a lot of times, now, I do not know if there was a teacher or administrator with the CPS workers, but I know that CPS workers work in pairs of twos or threes. It's very important because it protects the CPS worker if the child makes up a story and accuses the CPS worker of doing something. So, in answer to your question, that is a good one. And I'd have to research the internet to find the answer. So, let me do that right here in a moment. I'll see if this works. I have trouble with my computer, so when I type in something, hopefully it will type in what I'm looking for. Excuse me. Wow. Okay, what I typed in, can a social worker interview a child in school alone? I started off with the word CPS. Then I put my defined thing in there, and I did this across the United States. Now, hold on a second. I did have the answer, but my computer's still bad. It says, yes, a CPS social worker can interview a child at school alone, depending on the circumstances, if they have reasonable suspicions of abuse and neglect. It may also and may do so without notifying the parents beforehand, especially if believe the parents may try to influence the child's answer. However, they should typically try to get parental consent whenever possible, inform them afterwards. Now, there was an answer. Now, I use Core a lot, and Core is a forum for discussing answers. So I've used Core. And they said something here. Let me see. Yes. At the University of Oklahoma, Kim, who has a master's in communication disorders, yes, they can enter the building and report administrator that they're to speak to your child one-on-one. They generally review the administrator, possibly a teacher. They can take as long as they wish. Your child can refuse to cooperate. They can walk away from them and return to their classroom. They do not have to answer their questions, but their actions shouldn't appear to be acts of defiance instructed by you. Your child should answer truthfully. If they should come to your home, you have the right to ask for a court order before allowing, that's a warrant, before allowing them to enter your house. You have the right to videotape them entering your house and throughout the interview. The same for any time they question your child, even if you use your phone. If they argue, I've been advised you can state you're doing so under the Freedom of Information Act. Well, that's kind of a nice answer there. I like that. That was kind of nice. So, in answer to your question, love, and I don't know where you're from, love. It'd be nice if you tell me where you're from. Yes, they can interview without witnesses, without a teacher or staff. They should ask for the parents' permission. And if you're very wise, I tell you right now, what you need to do is to tell your children not to speak to anybody other than the parents, because you have to be careful. You need to explain to them. CPS is something that if I had to do my life all over again, I'd educate my children about them, and I would try to say it in a positive fashion that there is an entity that will investigate neglect and abuse. But there's a lot of bad entities out there, and you have to be careful. If you don't feel comfortable talking to somebody, you don't have to. You can walk away and go home or go back to your classroom. Okay, you're in California. So My children were interviewed. They said nothing that opened up a case, so it was fine. It was fine. Um, and you can instruct your children that not to talk to strangers. That's the thing is we tell our children when they grow up as little kids, don't talk to strangers. Well, a social worker is a stranger. You never know what strangers can do, good or bad strangers. You never know. And that's one of the worst things that can happen to you. So instruct your children, don't talk to anybody. If they have a teacher, they've got to know the teacher. They don't need to talk to the teacher about personal matters. Now, I may say you're trying to hide some bad things. No, I'm saying that because the Child Protection Agency has gone rogue. There are a lot of bad ones out there. There's a lot of bad people out there, including policemen and social workers that have alternative motives. You can't trust. I mean, I thought you could trust the government. And the government's being scrutinized and being pulled apart because for so long they have done some illegal things to allow people to get money that shouldn't have gotten money. And there's a lot of corruption and everything in there. So, my answer to you is instruct your children not to speak to strangers, not to talk to strangers. A social worker is a stranger. Now, a teacher is different. They get to know the teacher. You get to know the teacher. But if you feel uncomfortable, tell your children not to talk about personal matters to strangers or to teachers. Personal matters. And if you feel uncomfortable about it, walk out of the talk. Walk back to your classroom or go home and tell your mom and dad what happened. Tell your mom and dad what happened. So hopefully that'll help you, love, because I really, if I had to do it all over again, there's so many things I do differently. So many things I do differently. Now I'm glad we have some in this room, and as you can see how the forum works, this is a live stream. So someone asks a question, which I'm glad that the Love did, and she's from California, and I was able to help answer her question. And thank you, Love, for being in the room. Um, I care about y'all as my family. When you come back here again and again, my evening and morning shows, your family. I'm here to help you. There's some beautiful people. This past week, we had a heart wrenching story where a foster mom in Montana, Betty Jo, went to get her niece. That child was her brother's child. And unfortunately, her brother and his girlfriend had a baby and they weren't taking care of it properly in Nebraska. They were living in a tree house, and I think that there was a lot of neglect to that child. Anyway, her brother can't seem to hold a job, and he lives in his car, so he will not see his child. Um, his sister has adopted the child, has guardianship of her niece. And it's a beautiful story that she shared with us. Also, she's a foster mom. A couple weeks ago, she took in a child whose parents were killed on a Friday night. And the child was 4 years old and had none. And that child bonded with his foster mom, Betty Jo. And they found a home for that child because Betty Jo didn't want to just always adopt children. She likes to help out families in need. So she's a great foster mom. Not all foster people are bad. I'm just trying to share a good foster mom. I've also had social workers here on the podcast. And so I'm not saying all social workers are bad and all police are bad. It's just that there seems to be a lot of them, and you got to be careful. You be careful out there. Good morning, NYP. NYP is from California City, California. That is near Lancaster, Fresno, and Bakersfield. California City, was a city that I'm surprised that anybody lives there, because it's a city that was supposed to be conceived as a beautiful brand new city, but it's fallen by the wayside. I'm surprised there are people still living in that California city. Hello, Akima. Akima Richardson is from Brooklyn, New York. She is a very strong woman who's gone back and got her law degree in um, family law, juvenile law, and dependency law. She is fighting CPS to get her child back. She does have a professional attorney, and she uses the professional attorney to help. But she also has a podcast where she helps out others. Her podcast now is on Mondays, and if you wanted to listen to it, it's on Mondays, and I think it's at 5:30 Eastern time, and which would be probably 2:30 Pacific time, if I'm saying this right, Akima Richardson. No, I've not seen Betty in a couple days. She's enjoying her grandchild. Excuse me, not her grandchild, her niece. She's enjoying her niece, her brother's daughter, and she's got full guardianship. So I know she's a pretty busy woman. I think she was on a couple days ago, but I had not seen Betty Joe in a couple days ago. And Betty Joe's from Montana. As all this room, you can see the people that come in the room are regular people and new people. We have Love Live from California, who's new, who asked a question, and that worked out. We have NYP, a mother from California City, who's fighting a case where they're accusing the parents of breaking the child's bones 11 times, but it's all because the child has a disease. It's a bone disease where the child is born. It's like rickets. And if you touch the child, changing diapers or hold them, the bones will break. And so they've been falsely accused. They know about this, and they're working their way through the courts with the attorney on that. So, right. Okay, 5 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Akima. I do try to promote your show, Akima. And NYP says, hi, Mrs. Akima. I missed your show. Okay. Bob, her niece was removed. CPS had got her. Oh, that's probably why she wasn't. Oh my God, how would they do that? She just got guardianship of her niece. I did not hear about that. I did not know that. That's why I have not heard from Betty Joe. That is terrible. She's so excited. And she's a good foster care person. I don't know that. I did not know that, Akima. Well, wait a minute. How can the birth mother do anything? The birth mother wanted nothing to do with the child. The birth mother is living on drugs in Nebraska. Why would they put the child back with the birth mother? That is totally wrong. Oh, I know Betty. I hope she does call on this show. Betty, if you're listening and you're not, texting, please text me and tell me how I can help you. You need to make sure that you use your attorney wisely. You had a full guardianship. You transported the child from Nebraska to Montana, and you worked it out with the ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Placement of Children. And you did it. I know that you did it right. That is terrible. She was retaliated and just put some allegations on Betty Joe and just grabbed the rug from underneath her. That is terrible. It was at the CPS in Nebraska or the CPS in Montana. Who did that? Which CPS group? Yeah. You see, for all you listeners out there, we're talking about a very special family member here. Her name is Betty Joe from Montana. I just found out that the niece that she's got guardianship was taken underneath from her by alleged by the biological mother. Now, the biological mother was out of the picture. She wanted nothing to do with the child. She's strung out on drugs. Her brother is strung out on drugs and can't hold a job and lives in his car. So both parents were eliminated. And then she went through a formal thing with ICPC, which is called a private organization, the Interstate Compact for Placement of Children. And this is horrible news. That would be Nebraska. That would be Nebraska. How can Nebraska go to Montana, many states away, and grab a child? What court order would they have? That is terrible. What adopted parent's going to adopt her? She's already been adopted. Oh, this is so frustrating. I've been doing this for 16 months, and I know how frustrating it is to hear something like this, especially with one of my regular foster care. She's a good foster care mother. She took in a child for 4 years old that lost his parents due to an automobile accident, and the child's being adopted. And oh, that is so fair. That's some information, Akima, I never heard of. Um, okay, I think what it was is that there was a temporary placement of the child, the niece, with a foster care mom in um, Nebraska. Now that foster care mom must be sending some mucky muck, trying to take it away from the uh, Betty Joe, which I think is wrong. Okay, I got to learn on this one here. Kima, you're going fast, so let me absorb this. They don't need a court order if the child was not in the new kinship or guardianship home for more than 30 days. Once they do an exit medical from the state to transfer child over the REAK receiving. What is the REAK receiving? And NYPD. Oh my God, that's so sad. I saw her on Mrs. Kima's show. I know, and I'm so sorry. Uh, I feel for Betty Joe. The new reseek kinship of guardianships. Parents is also doing a wellness medical upon receiving her in their state. I think it's for the Midwest. Right in Nebraska, she was placed with an African American family before Betty Joe went to get her. Well, okay. The problem is that the biological parents lived in a treehouse in Nebraska. They didn't have ways of feeding the child. They're strung out on drugs. Both of them are in drugs. The biological father went back to Montana to try to better himself. Talked to his sister, who's Betty Joe. Betty Joe wanted the child to be close to maybe one day united with the father. The mother wanted nothing to do with it. So what it is, it's the temporary foster care. It's one foster care family going against another foster care. So we got a bad foster care system. They want the child only for the money that they get from the state of Nebraska. Oh, the receiving parent. Okay. Okay, I'm sort of understanding what it is there. But and Betty Joe did everything by the book, by the book. She did not even allow her brother visits to safeguard the child. That's true. When I talked to Betty Joe last, she says her brother is not keeping a job, living in a car, and he will not see his daughter. He'll not see his daughter. What were the allegations against Betty Joe? What was Betty Joe's been on my show a long time, and she's a good foster mom. I mean, she's already told me about the child she took care of, and she gave the child to a family member to be adopted because the biological parents were killed in an automobile accident. And that 4-year-old boy still calls Betty Joe mother and still calls her daily, even though he's now going to go with his adopted family member. This is crazy. This is crazy. They never said any allegations of like, oh boy. Well, it sounds like this is a big one for an attorney. You know, hopefully she can call Mr. Davis and see if Mr. Davis can help her out with some ideas. I've seen pictures of the little boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm sorry that's sad news I'm hearing. For most of your listeners, you may not have heard that we had a very successful story, and now the baby's being manipulated for money. It's all for money. There's corruptness with CPS everywhere. You know, I'm not saying that all CPS is bad, but this is a really bad scenario. Think how that little child is feeling right now, being bounced around. She can't be with her dad or mom because her dad and mom can't take care of her. Maybe she doesn't want to be with the temporary foster care people in Nebraska. And she had hopes of being with her adopted mom. This niece was hoping to be, and they were having a great time that couple days. That is terrible news. Terrible news. They're making Betty Joe start all the way from the beginning. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, she's got to fight it because those people are doing it for money only. They're doing it for money only. Yeah, I've seen the pictures, Akima. I know that you call it her gumdrop. Okay, well, boy, this is, I've been doing this show for 60 months, and this is a horrible, horrible story. I'm just really kind of just appalled that that happened. It really is. Um, Good. Well, I got her. I'll give her support. Tell Kima for Betty Joe to come on my podcast, and I can see if I can help with some ideas. I'll try to look up and research the internet whether they can legally do that or not, because she completed the ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Placement of Children. That is a independent organization that checks out the parent before they transfer the parent to that parent. And she did it all by court orders. She had the judge wish them well and good luck. Now we have the foster care parents that just in Nebraska that want to do revenge or get more money, because I know for a fact that you get money. And I don't think Betty Joe was interested in the money, but I bet the parents, I'm not downplaying the race, the background, but bet they're interested in the money only, Akima. I bet they're interested in the money only. Well, this supports my theory on CPS. You know, for 16 months, I've been telling you that there are rogue CPSs out there. I've talked about the pink ladies, these 8 social workers in Prescott, Arizona, that decided to buy pink t-shirts and stencil on the front of the t-shirts, professional child kidnappers. And on the back, they put, parents, do you know where your children are at? and they paraded around at all the big stores, the Kmarts, the Walmarts, the Costco's, the Sam's, the Best Buys, the Targets, the May Company, the Pennies, all these Sears, whatever store they were. And it sent out a really sickening message. And the city of Prescott had those 8 social workers gone, fired, as well as the director of CPS in Prescott, leaving with one person. And that one person had to handle all the phone calls and the investigations with the CPS. And that was a sad tragedy. You know, this goes on and on and on. I know firsthand what it is to lose a child when a social worker who was caught committing perjury, she lied in court, and she was caught by my attorney, Vincent W. Davis. And she retaliated against us parents by telling our 12-year-old child, she first told us, and we should have had the recorder on, that you're never going to see your daughter again. And then she took our daughter and said to our daughter, you're going to emancipate from your parents. You're 12 years old in the state of California. It's legal. That means divorce your mom, your dad, your 3 brothers, your 2 sisters, your both sets of grandparents, your aunts and uncles and cousins. She did all that. And then the social worker encouraged her daughter to change her name, and she got rid of her name. And her middle name was Hanalei, a beautiful place in Kauai. And then she was told to seal her birth certificate, get a new birth certificate. And she got a new Social Security card and was double dipping into my Social Security fund. She was getting paid twice as much out of my Social Security, which is wrong. And if Social Security heard what Social Service doing, there'd be war. There'd be war. And then she was adopted by the foster parents. And she's 22 now, and she still doesn't see mom or dad. I'm telling you, CPS is corrupt. There's a lot of them. And I cannot forget the good woman, the politician from Georgia, Nancy Schaefer, who in her 70s was killed. And they say it was her husband who committed suicide, but that's not the truth. She's an advocate of fighting CPS. She wanted all CPS eliminated. She wanted the whole organization canned and a new organization. Now, I say that we should try to correct the existing organization, should weed out all the bad people and put new people. They should be transparent. There should be a board of directors and supervisors that watches over CPS. And, I wish Elon Musk would investigate he is investigating social services. I hope he goes deeper into the child protection system, because there is a lot of corruptness, both at social service and the food stamp program and the Medicaid, Medicare programs that social service does. I know it firsthand. I know what the problems are in social services and CPS. I know it quite well. And I'd love to let Elon Musk investigate what the problems are, because there is a lot of corruption. Oh, Akima, that was me. I had nothing in my background. My wife and I were really good parents. But what happened was my wife's parents were trying to alienate our kids. They never liked me marrying her 31 years ago, or whatever it was, years ago. They did not like that. They didn't show up at the wedding. None of her family members showed up at the wedding. They've always wanted our children. And it's sad to this day. It's sad. Her father died in the grave, never admitting that he stole our children. Her mother is not quite well, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of corruption. And I'm sad to hear this about Betty Jo. I'm really sad to hear about this. We have about 10 minutes left of my podcast, and I'd love to I love to have someone else talk about something. NYP, if you want to talk about an update on your case, that'd be great. Akiba, what's the latest with your case? What's the latest with your case, Akima? I'd love to hear about that. NYP and Akima and Love. I haven't heard from you further. Love from California. Love NYP Akima. You can call in. And if you've never called in before, I know Akima has called in. And I think NYP has called in. But Loveland, you could call in too. Or anybody else that's listening out there. I see a lot of you in your rooms out there. And I love to hear from any of you. Philistine from Canada has called in numerous times. You're welcome to call in too. My people from around the world, the people in South Africa have called in. A person in Mexico had called in. Mum from UK, Great Britain, called in. I'm open to phone calls here. I'd love to help you all. I'd love to find out and answer. You do fine. NYP. I'm so glad you got a meeting with him. Make sure you list your questions and prioritize them so that you get a chance to talk what you want to talk about. Also, tell him that I sent you. Make sure you tell him that you've been talking to Bob Pace and that Bob Pace has helped you. All right? You need to tell him that, okay? And I'm so glad that you have the chance to talk to Vincent Davis today. That is great news. Yes, I agree with Akima. Mr. Davis is an amazing man. He's once was foster care himself, so he knows the foster care system. And he's been fighting for 39 years, and he has really information on juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Those are the laws you're in there. You're not in a criminal court. This is not a criminal matter. This is a family law matter. This is a juvenile matter. It is a dependency law matter. You're in dependency court, family court. Thank you. And, good luck with your case. I tell you, Mr. Davis is helping a lot of people. He's got Margaret in Missouri. He's got Tessa in Kern County, or Shasta, I think Shasta County. Tessa in Shasta County. He's fighting cases in LA County, Orange County. He was my attorney. He's also fights Riverside and San Bernardino. He also had a case in Oklahoma and Pennsylvania. He is one of those attorneys that will get your child back, that will win a lawsuit. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left before I have to end the podcast. And actually, you got about 2 minutes left. I'm looking at the wrong clock. There's the clock of the time was there. I got to end at 11 o'clock. So at this time, I want to thank you all for coming in. Akima, thank you, and God bless you. She has her show at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. Tune in to Akima. She is live like me. She does a live podcast. NYP from California City. It's so good to have you here, and good luck with your call there. I think also I want to thank Loveland from California that talked about interviewing children, what the procedures are. So good luck with your case, Love. Please come back. I'm again on at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's the west coast of California. I'm on at 7 o'clock in the evening, and I'd love to help you. And I will look up things. I will help you. And I want to tell you that do not stop fighting for your child. Do not give up. It may be looking terrible And at the end, but you will get your child back if you keep at it. You have to be a fighter. CPS is corrupt. They all want to do is they make trillions of dollars a year. Don't let them do that. Don't let them do that. All right, I'm signing off now. Goodbye, you all, and God bless you all.